All right. Well, hello and welcome, everybody. Today you are at the IAM Foundations Insights from the Field webinar. This is our mostly monthly webinar series on all things identity and access management, brought to you by InCommon and Internet 2. My name is Jean Horszewski. I'm the director of InCommon Academy, and I will be your host. Today, we're going to be diving into some IAM Foundations and to get some practical career insights from our presenter today. But this webinar is a particularly special one because it also serves as a really great warm-up to InCommon Basecamp, our virtual event that's coming up right around the corner, June 2nd through 6th, and we're going to be telling you a lot more about that toward the end of this webinar. So let's get things rolling. So welcome again. Just to give you a little bit of housekeeping, as per usual, we will be taking questions and comments live. If you hover over the bottom of your Zoom screen, you'll notice that there's a Q&A function down there. So if you have a question that percolates up as you're listening to today's webinar, please add it because we want to hear from you and we want to know what your questions might be. You might have some questions about these IAM fundamentals or maybe something specific for Marta. We want this to be as interactive as possible. If you feel like it, you can also post messages in the chat, just if we want to have conversations with everybody. Just make sure that when you do the chat, there's a little drop down. Make sure you select everyone, and that way everyone can see what you're saying. And we always get the question, but this webinar is being recorded. So you will receive a link and via an email to the slides as well as the recording. It's also going to be available on our website. So stay tuned for that. All right. And now I want to introduce you to our moderator, Grady Bailey. Grady is a senior IAM architect at Internet 2, and he brings lots of experience in identity and access management. He's a very active contributor to the InCommon community. He has served as on the technical advisory committees. He helps to shape Basecamp and Camp Week committees, and he's also actually both of the folks today are presenting at Basecamp, so you're going to get a good preview for sure. So Grady, I'm going to turn it over to you and take it away.
Jane, thanks for that introduction. I'd like to go ahead and introduce Marta. She is our featured speaker today. Marta is a senior IT manager over at the University of Texas at Austin. She serves as the IAM team lead. And as Jean said, we're going to be talking about IAM Foundations and insights from Marta as she has progressed through her career and IAM and all of the good things that come with that. So here we go. Marta, it's good to see you. For those who don't know, Marta and I worked together for a long time. It was
6 years.
Yeah, 2017 is when I started at UT. And Marta and I have been everything from friends and foes and like playing mom and dad role on the team and all sorts of different things. So we've had a long history together, and I'm very excited to be able to chat with you today. So I want to start by actually bringing up some highlights from your speaker spotlight earlier when it was first announced that you were going to be contributing to this IAM Online. We did a speaker spotlight which included some questions, and I think that these really provide your answers to these. Now, granted, I just took little snippets, but I think they really provide a lot of character to our conversation that we're going to go into. That you kind of fell into IAM as you described it, that your challenges, the significant challenges that you think about are about training and retaining resources, and then that the advice that you'd offer to someone is being patient. I wanted to highlight those things. I do suggest if folks haven't seen your speaker spotlight that they go check it out at some point. But I wanted to highlight those before we dive into our kind of interview is not really the right word, questions and answers, our conversation about your career. So do you want to say anything about these before we?
No, I think I mean I guess what I'll contribute to the highlights that you said here is that the biggest thing that kind of summarizes from these points is to give yourself the room and the grace to grow and grow in different ways. And IAM, when you come into this career, there's so many concepts, there's so many things that you're trying to learn, and you have to know that there's a mountain that you're climbing, and you have to go one step at a time. And I think that's what you're highlighting in this by with these snippets.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great transition into kind of our first little segment of questions. Titled it "Starting Out and Building Up." So we're going to talk around a couple different things. The what got you started, how you ended up here, what made you stay. You're becoming the IAM team lead because you didn't join as the team lead. You didn't start off there, and how that developed, and then your insights in roles on the IAM team because I know you've always focused a whole lot on the key and the importance of project management and business analysis as part of a successful team. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop the slide share so that we can just see each other and we can talk through it. So let's start with that first one, which was again you kind of covered it a little bit in your speaker spotlight, but how did you end up uh, at UT Austin and why IAM? This is again going back to our history. This is one of the questions that Marta and I would ask people that we interviewed. Why do you want to work for UT? Why IAM? And this is a variation on that.
So I was working in consulting right after college for a number of years and really got sick and tired of defending my calendar. Weekends were always easy to take up and work through them. And an old director from the consulting firm had come to work to UT, and she knew that the IAM team needed a project manager resource to come in and help establish a roadmap and then run the projects that were going to come out of that roadmap. And I applied for the position. The position originally was a business analyst position. It wasn't even a project manager position. She said, "Don't worry about the title. Just apply for the job, take it. We'll figure things out later." And so I joined. I came to UT Austin. I'm a UT Austin grad. My dad's a professor. So it was a new field for me too, to try to break out from what I had been doing in the consulting world to coming here. And then as I've progressed in my career here at UT, I've been here for almost 12 and a half years, roughly. IAM has become a a passion in a sense for what I'm doing and the value that IAM delivers to the university. It's a really central part.
What was the landscape like when you joined in terms of the IAM team at UT? What was it like when you first started? The perception of IAM on campus or the value of it around campus?
The perception, it was the IAM team at the time was still being established as a key component of university operations because we hadn't centralized authentication as much as we are centralized today, and there weren't as many services and offerings that we could deliver to UT. That's what came with the roadmap. And that's where, like, over time, we have established more offerings and more services for campus to be able to provide stable services as well.
So you mentioned the roadmap. Can you talk about what you mean by the roadmap? I know what you mean.
Yeah. So the roadmap is something, and that preview, I will be talking about this at Basecamp. Um, I um, I was part of the process of going to over 120 different stakeholders across campus and talking to them about their IAM needs. And based on that, we had a consultant who was helping us establish, what were the pillars of pillars of identity and access management, and where were our priorities. And that established a roadmap of projects and things that we needed to develop and deliver over time. And that roadmap since then has morphed. It has changed. There's a kind of a longer history to it, but it continues to be a vehicle of how I communicate to stakeholders on what are the priorities for the IAM team.
And that's, I think we'll circle back around to this later about the communication across campus, but that roadmap's available for
Yes.
anyone to see at any point.
It is available on our website, and is updated quarterly and shared quarterly, so that people can transparently see what we have on our plates at any given time.
I I looked at the roadmap for preparing for this presentation today because I've been out of the loop as far as, since I joined Internet 2 in August of last year. But
Whenever I do a presentation about the roadmap, the thing that everyone always is amazed about is how much content is in there and how much it conveys information about our team.
yeah, I mean, I I always enjoyed updating that because that was the thing that, oh, someone on campus wants to know what we're doing. Look at the roadmap. Here it is. We've got all the information there. It's great. So I want to transition a little bit into talking about your transition in your career. So you came in as a project manager, but you're not a project manager right now. You're a senior IT manager. You're the IAM team lead, and that transition happened in a really funky time in the world, right? So like you became IAM team lead in late 2020,
Yes.
and everything was changing. How did that feel? What did you learn from that you still use today?
So I had a baby in 2020. I will also put that into the mix for folks. I had a baby at the beginning of the pandemic, and this position was offered, or became available, let's put it that way, at the end of 2020. And it was not a position that I thought I was going to pivot into anytime soon. So it was a surprise for sure, of trying to figure out how to balance everything that was going on in the world plus my personal life. I think that the one of the biggest things that I have learned, was to make sure that you have the communication. Communication is so pivotal, especially when we are all remote or in different places. And where I go to with this in my mind is at the very beginning when I first became team lead, I had to onboard like two or three individuals, like almost all at the same time. And it was so easy for them to kind of get isolated into this, what I call a bubble, and not be engaged with the team as much as they needed to. And so the main thing that I learned is communication is so important on establishing relationships and connecting people and making sure that, like, if you have someone really new on the team, that they have that connectivity, that they are empowered, that's the word I'm looking for, to go and forge those relationships and go and meet with people, and not hesitate, to take up that time. So communication,
Communication.
fundamental communication.
Well, it's going to be everyone in the audience. It's going to be a running theme. I promise. Over the next 15 to 20 minutes, you're going to get tired of hearing the word communication. But it is important. Other things that are important, specifically to you, they weren't important to me when I started because I didn't understand. But project management and business analysis. Like I joined the IAM team as an integration engineer, as a technical person. And I joined in, and I think at the time, there were three project managers, I
Mhm.
think. And like you were the senior PM, and then there were two other PMs, and there were at least three, maybe more BAs
There
at
were
that
more.
time.
There were more.
And I didn't get it. And you know that I didn't get it. And I don't think that's like I don't think that's
Not unique. It's not unique for
yeah, it's not an unusual thing to for technical people to not understand why are these things important. But you've always emphasized how important they are, and you taught me how they're important. So can you describe like how why are those things so key to you, and specifically when it comes to IAM, why are those roles and those skill sets really important to the success of a team?
So when I first joined the IAM team, the roles for the most part were generalist. Everyone did everything, from communications to technical to, business analysis to testing. And as we forged forward into some of these projects that we were going to do for modernization, we realized that we needed to make in order to set up people for success, you need to have people do the things that they're good at. That's what will make them successful. So the technical people should focus on the technical work, but then there's all this other bits and pieces that need to get done. The project planning, the communication, the requirements gathering, the testing. And so we, at the time, shaped out roles for people to be focused as software engineers or DevOps engineers, depending on what time frame we're talking about. And then we shaped out the business analyst roles and the project managers roles, all for the purpose is every person focuses on the work that they're good at because that's what will make them successful. And so over time, the team has grown. Like you were saying, that there were more PMs and BAs at the time. The team has grown and kind of adjusted over time, and now we have two PMs and three BAs. All to also lead to the other part of this answer that I am a big believer in and passionate about is that IAM has two components to it. There's the technical parts, definitely. The systems, the making sure everything's stable and operational. But there's the IAM business. There's the business of dealing with the stakeholders, management, setting expectations, making sure that the very technical parts of IAM, which are very difficult for some folks to understand, can be explained in a way that makes sense to them and is very clear. And so there's the BAs and the project managers really help support the business part of IAM, while the technical folks focus on keeping our systems going.
So you in particular, your background comes from a more functional and that other side, that other part of IAM that you were talking about, more so than the technical.
Yes.
So how do you, as well as your team, your BAs, your PMs, how do you stay on top of the technical? How do you keep that understanding and or gain that understanding of the technical side of things?
Yeah, so I do have a mostly functional background. I had a class in high school that where I coded, and that gave me my foundation. And had some other roles in the consulting world where I wrote SQL scripts. But the thing that has helped me over time has always been to build a picture in my head. And I think this is a tool to share with the community because this has really helped me over time. And I think it's helped others who are somewhat non-technical become more technical. I build a picture in my head. It's basically boxes of components or functionality, or maybe it's a layer of understanding that this is the technical architecture right here. We've got four VMs, right? And then over time, as we build out the system or as I learn the system, depending on the situation that we're in, each of those boxes becomes a little bit clearer, and I can understand that this software engineer is talking about this box over here, or maybe even this corner of this box over here. And it has helped me understand that as long as I can build out that picture, and people understand that I'm building out that picture because it's a two-way street on the team where I need the technical folks to educate me. This is not happening in a vacuum. Over time, the picture becomes more clear and more crisp.
That's, I mean, one of those things that, as you and I work together as long as we did, I learned how to do that communication. And so something that I've been working on at Internet too, is something I want to now go back to a share, and I'm going to share this. We can talk through this. So we have the IAM conceptual model, which is just it's a high level concept of the capabilities of an IAM system, an IAM program, from a more technical perspective. But you have systems of record that flow into your IAM system, and there are four key capabilities, and then that flows down to your identity consumers. But what were you talking about? Making boxes. And so what I've done is with you and I, in preparation for this, we kind of worked on a version of a visualization of what you're talking about. So that SSO and Federation box, I know at UT Austin, you use Duo, you have the enterprise authentication service, and you're tied into the in-common federation. Um, but then each of those things can be boxed out,
Yeah.
right? How those things are structured. And so you can put a box around enterprise authentication. But what's in there? Well, there are a number of components in there, and if we zoom in and get a little bit more clarity on that box, we see the different components that make up enterprise authentication at UT, right? You're running the shibboleth identity provider. You have a metadata manager service. You back end it with Active Directory. But then there's even more detail underneath that, right?
Yep.
So you could put boxes around those components, and you can fill those out. And inside of the metadata manager and the shibboleth box, there's actually a couple of containers and a cloud component. And this it just breaks down into these more and more discrete pieces to show what's actually underneath here. And
And going back, I'm going to interrupt you for a second. Just going
sure.
back to that slide, we have a brand new project manager on our team, and I was just telling her yesterday that she should learn what kind of data, what data attributes do we sometimes need to, or that we more commonly release for most of our authentication integrations, and which ones are some of the edge cases, so that she can understand some of, when the ticket comes in and we're working with a client, okay, here's the standard data attributes that are going to get released, and here are some of the ones that we sometimes have to configure or customize.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the things that working with you taught me, is that it it's just as important for the BAs and the PMs to understand the technical side. It's just as important for the technical people to understand the project management and the business analysis side, like knowing what everyone needs across the team. It's back to that word. It's that communication, right? It's knowing what everyone needs and being able to talk on the same level and have that mutual understanding. I mean, that was when you and I really started to click, right? Was when we finally realized, oh, you know what you're doing, and I know what I'm doing, and now we know what each other are doing.
Mhm.
Let's really make this go.
Yep,
Um,
absolutely.
so the boxes and the breaking down of things, then further led into, and this goes back to that roadmap, where I mean, it was one of the last things that I did before I left, but being able to visualize things and breaking down the whole ecosystem.
Yes.
Do you want to
Yeah, so we
look at
had
that real quick?
Yeah, so last year we had a new CIO at UT Austin, and I wanted to have a concise picture of all of our systems to be able to illustrate, how do we fit into this picture, and be able to communicate clearly, where are our challenges and where are our successes. And so we came up with this ecosystem picture that helps with explaining, where the data is flowing, where is our, where's a lot of our work happening, where is our bread and butter. I always call enterprise authentication our bread and butter because it's the most important system, right? If you can't log in, not a lot of work is going to happen. So yeah, we came up with this ecosystem picture to be able to communicate and show how we really are in the middle of it all, and to show where IAM delivers value to the university. So to translate that to at a CIO level.
Yeah, the again, one of those things that I learned over time, the way that different people process information, the value of a good visual can't be overstated. Like the um, being able to quickly represent something visually, in alongside a text explanation, either written or spoken, as you've got to hit all of those different ways of gathering information that people have because uh, um,
I think the roadmap is another point of reference, right? Like it's an illustration. It's a consistent format to show people. I mean, it has words in it, obviously, but it has a consistent format, and so that picture really helps people understand. Okay, this is what I can get out of this, and since we've been doing it consistently for however many years that we have, people can digest that information pretty quickly. Just like this ecosystem picture also gives people a point of reference.
absolutely. So, all right, I promised we would get back to it, and I stopped myself before you dove into that last little explainer. I almost led into your all-time favorite question.
Yep.
So we're gonna progress into our next kind of setting here, a conversation on communication and collaboration. And we're gonna start with the fun one,
The question.
and then we're gonna talk around um, the importance of consensus building and working with others. That's part of the communication is the collaboration, and then I want to talk a little bit about and get your feelings on the community here, the In Common community, and specifically In Common Basecamp. So, all right, we're gonna start out. Do you want to say it or do you want me to say it?
I'll say it. I'll say it.
Okay, okay.
Question. The word communication means different things to different people at different times. What does the word communication mean to you?
And so that is that
That
is
is
Marta's
that is
favorite
my
interview question.
that is my classic interview question, and it is forever going to be my favorite question in an interview. If you can't answer that question, you're not getting a job on the IAM team. And it is amazing how much that question trips up people because they haven't thought about it or they haven't put words to it. But it is a fundamental question for interviewing for the IAM team at UT Austin. And because that being able to define how information needs to be shared and understanding that information needs to be shared at different levels in different ways at different times for different people and how you have to adjust yourself to in those moments of exchanging information is so pivotal to understand all the ways that IAM interacts with campus. We have different avenues and even being able to communicate within the team and having that communication within the team is so important to build on collaboration.
So talking about within the team, but also outside of the team, right? One of the first things I remember you working on was, or working with you on, was a giant project that touched basically everyone on campus. And the fact that it was successful in any way is still astonishing. But then the fact that we did that multiple times. Um, the collaboration across a huge campus like UT is there are huge challenges with that. Um, and the so I want to share another diagram with how and I talked about this a little bit. Like IAM is really at the center of everything, but that means you're at the center of having to build consensus around what to do and how to do and making sure you get buy-in from everyone. So um, I want to share this diagram that kind of tries to again trying to hit on that what how do people see different things, and this kind of puts IAM in context of a large campus. Who is providing input where? How are how are different decisions being made and who provides what input to the IAM process and identity management. Do you want to talk a little bit of how this kind of represents your experience at UT and your lessons learned from having to do this at such a large institution?
One of the things that I adopted into kind of my leadership approach for the IAM team is to establish a collaborative mantra of to call it that is that you have to collaborate with everyone in order to be able to get things done. And so by collaborating and talking to people, and you mentioned that project, one of the about when we were transitioning from one authentication system to another, it's literally about reaching out to every stakeholder and walking through that process with them. It's not about asking people to do things for you. It's about joining them and walking through the trenches together to get something done. And that establishes such a really good foundation that helps that the next time around when you're going through it again that it becomes fun. Like the first time it's hard, like it's not great. Like you run into issues or whatever. But when you lead the others through it, and help them through it, you may not we IAM may not be doing much of the work. The customers or the stakeholders may be doing more of the work. But when you walk through that with them, the second time that they have to do it again, they're more willing, and again, it becomes more fun. And it's about establishing that collaborative spirit that we are here to collaborate with you. We're not doing anything to you. We're not forcing you to do this, right? It's about, hey, I'm here to work with you to accomplish this goal. And we're here together. We're going to do it together. And that has, I think, changed the IAM team's reputation at UT Austin to be something of a partner, a person that or team that we want to work with, which was not necessarily the perspective when I first joined here.
We want your input just as much as you want our help.
Yes,
Tell
exactly.
us, yeah, it's
Let's talk about it. I
to
say this all the time to my kids, but it's true. Let's talk about it. Like it's not a yes or no. It's a let's talk about it. What do we need? What do you need? What do you need? What do we need? How can we accomplish these goals together?
then I'm gonna borrow a phrase, and I'm gonna sit here and silently laugh about it, probably out loud a little bit. They say relationships are currency.
They are. They are indeed.
Uh, Speaking of relationships and community and collaboration, I want to kind of wrap up our prepared discussion points before we get into some of the Q&A. And I know we do have at least one question queued up. Um, but what do you think? What have your experiences been with the In Common community, and in particular, we have In Common Base Camp coming up, which I know you're going to be a speaker again. You spoke last year, I believe. I think did we both participated in Base Camp when
I
we did the
think this will be my third year of participating in Advice Camp. I believe that's true.
Yeah. So I mean, we've been around for a bit. You want to just
Yeah, I mean, I think Basecamp and In Common and Internet 2, all of it provides this sense of community that is helpful that there's someone else that you can go talk to and ask questions or understand how they approach something or how they did something or it's just there's a community. IAM is such identity and access management is a complex field in itself. And then in higher ed, with all the different types of use cases that we have and the technical challenges that we have generally speaking at universities, not just IAM, it's nice to know that there's others out there that and you're not alone. And knowing that you can go and talk to someone else and reach out to them and be able to ask questions or understand how did they face this challenge or how did they face that challenge. It's a community and you know that you're not alone. And you can learn new things from others. You can know that this university did it this way, it worked out, or this university did it that way, it didn't work out. And so then how do you tailor each of these projects to be something different than um, to have a different experience? And just share information too. The whole Entra ID coming into the picture, right, with Shibboleth and trying to figure out how do we, adjust those two technologies when they're in the ecosystem and hearing what other universities have done. I think there was a webinar recently that addressed that, right? You can hear about those things, and here I'm referencing another webinar where I listened to other universities talking about how they approach that challenge, and because that's a challenge that UT Austin's going to have to approach in the future.
yeah, no one is alone. And if you are alone, it's by choice, right? Like I mean, the community is always welcoming and definitely not insular. Like we've I mean, I've made tons of friends and acquaintances and built that collaborative spirit and relationships um, with a ton of people. Um, Before we get to Q&A, is there anything that we talked about ahead of time that we didn't talk about now that you want to touch on? I think we kind of came around pretty much everything.
We've covered everything. I don't, yeah, I mean, the picture build, I'm just going to reinforce this part. The picture building, I think, is really going to be a good tool for folks to think about, especially if you're new to identity and access management and going into Basecamp. That picture tool has really gotten me to understanding a lot of things. And if you're new to learn to IAM or learn new to IT even, right? It's that picture building is going to get you at least a place to kind of, bounce off of and be able to figure things out.
I love picture building.
It's a good one.
It's it's been very important to me for the last however many months it's been. Uh, all right. So I think we can go ahead and transition straight into the sorry, I'm distracted by the Q&A and Kevin Carpenter, you know what you did. Um, but we're going to go ahead and transition into the Q&A portion. So if you have questions, please feel free to submit them using the Zoom Q&A function, and we will go ahead and start answering them live here. So I'm going to read the first one we have from Imran. Could you share how you roll out changes, assign roles to the technical team, keep everyone on track with the agreed process, and continue refining that process while staying involved in technical discussions as a business analyst, team lead? So and include any tactics or examples of doing that have worked well for you.
So, I this for that first question, where we default to is if we're getting into a more formal project management approach of a project, is using a RACI diagram. So RACI stands for a responsible, accountable, consulted, informed. making sure that everybody understands what the expectations of them are in a particular project or in a particular effort. And since we, at least on our team, um, we like to give people opportunities to serve and have different roles on different projects depending on where we're at. That RACI is really pivotal to giving people the opportunity also to experience being in a different role depending on the project. And so it's defining that either we're doing the RACI formally or informally because you're having one-on-ones with people. But that's how I would answer that part of the question. And then as far as business analyst, I mean, our BAs are in all the meetings. Our BAs are heavily involved in all the processes we have three BAs, and we are constantly including them to make sure we think about not just the technical changes, but the functional or the business changes that need to be thought about. Um,
All right. I'm gonna skip over Kevin's leading question, and I'll come back to it. Um, but Jim asked, "What's the biggest IAM challenge that you faced at UT Austin?"
I think I'm gonna have to go back to the same answer to what I wrote for the prep. It's resourcing. It's keeping the team staffed. IAM is a complex field. The acronym is short, but identity and access management is not. And when you have to have smart people come work on the IAM team, and then those smart people get smarter and they become that much more marketable on the market. And it's, higher ed does not pay as much as, the private industry. And so staffing is the hardest challenge, in my opinion.
I'm sorry.
You're welcome.
Oh, no, I mean, gosh, we went through the ringer on staffing, and you when you hire really good people, you get really good people, and then they get really good, and they find other really good
You
things to
really
do.
do. You really do. You find these amazing people, and I have hired in some people into the university that are amazing and have moved on from our team but stayed at UT. And I don't take credit for their success for the work that they've done, but I do take the credit for hiring them, that I found them, because it's something. That's not nothing. So
That is true. All right. Um, are there any other questions that may be hanging out there before I answer Kevin's leading question? This is unfair, and I should just ignore it. But Kevin asked, does Internet 2 have any picture diagramming software available to help with making those pictures? Why? Why would you ask such a thing, Kevin? Have you seen someone somewhere at Technology Exchange at TechX last year, or heard anything coming out of Community Exchange this year that would lead you to ask such a question? Yes. We have been working on a tool called IAM Sketch. That's been one of the huge things that I've been working on. And it's designed to do exactly what Marta was getting at. It's designed to help create those sorts of diagrams and um, hit at a level where it's easy to communicate with everyone, not just your technical team members, but also your upper level management, and provide a diagram that has context included in it, and share those things not just within your institution, but across other institutions, and be able to see who's doing what and how are they doing it? And that is something that is actively being worked on. And Kevin, you know that. All right. It doesn't look like we have any other open questions right now, but we still do have a little bit of time if anyone has any last questions. If not, I think Jean is going to pop back in and kind of take us out.
Yeah, I sure will. So I'm going to go back to sharing my screen as well. But thank you so much. Marta and Grady, this was really a great session, a little bit different take on all things identity and access management, and really great to hear a little bit more about your career and what you've been up to at UT Austin, Marta, and how you've handled things and given such great insights. We really appreciate that. And thank you to all of you who have been offering up some of these really important questions. You know, lots of diagramming, lots of pictures, lots of communication, lots of collaboration, sounds like. And if this has sort of wet your whistle, I just want to remind folks about Basecamp that's coming right up. And in fact, before I'm going to stop sharing for 1 second. Well, I thought I could stop sharing, but I won't. But Jenny, perhaps you can paste the link into the chat so that people can actually get to this page. But if you don't know about Basecamp, that's coming right up June 2nd through 6th. It is our 5-day virtual event. This program is designed by peers, people like you who have been doing all the things that you all are working on, and really focusing in on helping everybody who might be new to this field, might be new to a role, or maybe even you've been in this role for a really long time, but you just love coming together, getting a refresher. We always have new sessions each year. This gives you an opportunity to get more fluent in IAM fundamentals. So all those boxes that Grady was showing you, if you need to know a little bit more about what all those boxes means, Basecamp is going to go a little bit deeper. You know, Marta talked a lot about how do you develop programs and road mapping and that sort of thing. And we have sessions that will be focusing on your IAM environment. Maybe perhaps some of you are migrating to a hybrid situation, or maybe onboarding a commercial product. So we have some insights on that. You'll get to learn a little bit about zero trust, certainly in common federation, and how data and IAM intersect. And we even have some sessions on, well, a session called The Struggle is Real, because as Marta indicates, you know, it's a complex field and everyone is dealing with things, and, you know, we wanted some real talk about these sorts of things. So we have something about that too. And most importantly, you know, Marta and Grady both talk about community, and Basecamp is a perfect place to come in and feel welcome, and that you are not alone in this whole IAM world, and you can connect with fellow campers who are tackling similar challenges to you. And so beyond our sessions, we actually have what we call campfires. They happen at the end of each day, and it's a place where you can let your hair down and just chat about all things identity and access management. And oh, by the way, there's also some fun and shenanigans that we like to do throughout the week as well. One thing to note, we know that you know, the landscape is a little bit bumpy right now, and travel and budgets are a little bit uncertain. Basecamp is 100% virtual, so no travel required. And we changed up our discount this year. We are offering a buy one, get one. So you can send 2 people for the price of 1. So extend an invitation to one of your colleagues. Maybe that's you, the IAM architect, and maybe you want to invite a project manager or business analyst to come along for the ride as well, because sharing the learning always helps. So if you haven't registered yet, the link is in the chat. Please check it out. There is still time. All right, well, that's that. Just to wrap up today's webinar, let us know if you have any thoughts. When you leave today, you're going to get a 4-question survey. Let us know what you thought. What did you think about today's coffee talk? Wait, before I see we have a question. Yes. Great. I'm glad to hear that, Greg. Greg is saying that the discount is enabling more people to come to Basecamp, which is why we did it. We want as many people there as possible, just to share the learning and commiserate and just to chat. If you have other ideas about IAM Online topics, let us know. Next month, June 18th. We have a very interesting webinar coming up about different ways to integrate authentication with authorization. This is going beyond just authenticating and figuring out how you really streamline access in all different kinds of ways. University of Pennsylvania, Harvard, and University of Alaska have come up with some uh, front door access controls that are quite interesting. So we hope you'll join us. Remember that each of our webinars give you the opportunity to register for them each and individually. So check that out for sure. All right. Well, remember, this event is recorded, so we will be sending that out and posting it on our website. And that's it for today. So special thanks to Jennifer and the Internet 2 team that helps make this event happen. And we'll see you next time. And hope to see you at Basecamp. Have a great day.